Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever. We're halfway past the halfway mark in Lent, almost. Perhaps we're flagging. Resolutions are failing. Penances are flailing. We might be tempted to give up. This is precisely the moment to begin again, to recommit, to revivify, get back up and face forwards, not backwards. This is once again not about the greatness of our sacrifices, as if the small things we do could compare to the devotion of the saints or the suffering of the martyrs. It is, as we were reminded at the beginning of Lent, about using discipline to become disciples or better disciples. Lent is that sacred time given to us not for spring training, but most certainly for spiritual exercise. Our focus, as for all our Christian lives, must be on Christ. This is so obvious, yet perhaps because it's so obvious we don't see the wood for the trees. All the disputes, fighting and disunity in the church, to say nothing of what is going on in the world, is because of our failure to seek nothing but Christ. It should be so joyful and so meaningful when we renew our baptismal promises on Easter Sunday, which is a very public proclamation of our commitment to Christ and to his church. We don't, as a world leader who claims to be a Catholic but said the other day he disagreed with a fundamental part of Catholic teaching, we don't pick and choose what we believe. Those words we proclaim are solemn and binding. How much more beautiful is seeing men and women, often who were far from the church, coming to the faith, which, despite the apparent chaos and confusion in the church, is still drawing, as a moth to the flame, those who seek the light of Christ. Seek truth and come to the light of Christ. For all this we must be thankful and full of joy. St. Paul, in his letter to the Philippians, chapter 3, verses 8 to 14, gives us for our meditation this week a most powerful and inspiring encouragement to keep that focus on the Lord. In a way, it's almost like a last testament, although Paul seemed to write quite a few last testaments in his letters. Can we hear his words and get that spiritual injection that we need? Nothing can outweigh the supreme advantage of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. Isn't that the central question of Lent that we should be asking ourselves, namely, whether that statement is true? It is a searing question. What of our ambitions, our worldly pursuits? Nothing, says St. Paul, is more important than knowing Christ. The key to evangelization is quite simply men and women who believe and live that statement. St. Paul did, the apostles did, and they changed the world. Paul is not lying when he goes on to say that he considers everything else rubbish. He has been captured and captivated by Christ. It's only a person like that who can bring others to know the Lord and to love him. Beautiful brochures may talk about it, PowerPoints may lead to it, but only the one who believes it will convict and convince. St. Paul gives us a prayer of petition for our last few weeks of Lent. All I want is to know Christ and the power of his resurrection. Lovingly said, slowly repeated each day, may be a better Lenten resolution than the absence of coffee. We have, as St. Paul did, our eyes on the prize, and the prize is Christ Jesus, and life in him and with him. All I want is to know Christ and the power of his resurrection. Brethren, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, like a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.